Right, well, greetings everybody. Welcome to another edition of Balkanizer. Today we're taking a sort of rather random approach, looking at some issues which are on our minds and we think are worth talking about a bit. And we wanted to start um, with the idea of mission. I think we mentioned this in the last call that we went to a meeting of the mission. I don't know what's called office, is it? Associated with the St.
I've
Alexander
forgotten.
Nevsky
Yes,
Church.
something like that.
Yeah, in Dorchol in Belgrade. Um, and so this is a topic, because this is often, mission. I think it's often seen as this thing of, somebody going out into
Mm.
darkest Africa or whatever back in the day, and
Yeah, like
um,
Mrs. Jellyby in Dickens's
yeah,
Bleak
that's
House.
right.
Yeah.
And perhaps more like a Protestant evangelical type thing, with the Bible and
Yes.
that kind of thing.
hmm
But of course, as Orthodox, we believe the church has a mission, so that to reach out to people. And that something like this organization connected to the church in Dorchol is shows this that they're taking it seriously. They're trying to work out what this means and how to do it. Um, and what got me thinking about this was a recent trip. I'm just back from a visit to England, and seeing the Orthodox Church there, and I feel it has a sort of missionary atmosphere to it. So,
Right, right.
um, the church I went to is in Wallasey in the northwest,
Mhm.
and um, they have the people. An icon came. So to expand the story a bit, a famous icon, a Russian icon called the Kursk root icon, which is actually based with the emigre community in New York. So that's where it comes from, and it's regularly taken on a tour of the Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia, which coming to Europe. Um, so that was on tour basically in the UK, and that was there. And um, what we could see was, yeah, sorry. So um, this was, the root icon was there, and people were coming from all over Northwest England to see this icon. And the icon had been touring people's homes as well in the region.
Really, right.
Yeah. Um, but even what I was picking up was saying, for example, in North Wales, there are catechumens, you know. So
Right.
so the people who are, thinking of becoming or have decided to become Orthodox, but they're going through
Yeah.
the process of preparation. So I got that feeling. And also just I was just thinking about the whole situation that, yeah, it is a missionary field. So
hmm
I mean, pretty well any country is a missionary field in some way or other, but
Exactly. Yes.
particularly
Yeah.
a Western European
hmm
country, which is largely secular,
Yeah.
or where religion has sort of been marginalized and so on. So that was my thought about mission. I don't know what you think about it.
Well, yes, I like the idea, but as you said at the beginning, it is my understanding of it is very much colored with the whole critique of colonialism, isn't it?
Yes,
I
yes,
remember, um, and I can't remember the name of the African writer, but it's someone from West Africa who said, when the British arrived, we had the land and they had the Bible, and after a while, the um, the roles were reversed. So the
yes,
British had
yes,
the land, and all we were left with was the Bible.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it was this sense that they had in some ways been tricked and betrayed, and
yes, yes,
that the conversion to Christianity was while it was heartfelt in many of the converts, of course, it it served the interests of the colonial powers, um,
Well, yes. I mean, that's
which tainted
unfortunately,
the whole thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's my where I come from in my understanding of the word. But um, the Orthodox Church, of course, has never really been involved in that kind of thing in quite the same way, at any rate, has it?
that's
I
right,
mean,
that's right.
I've just been reading this large text on the conversion of Bulgaria by the um, well, the Christian powers of Europe in the ninth century, yeah, and uh, there are yeah, clearly we're talking about imperial.
Okay. Yeah, so
Yeah, so
sorry.
I was just talking about yeah my understanding of mission, but yeah, if we talk about Orthodox churches in the West, you're right. It is we're sort of back to square one in a way, aren't we? We're dealing with, like you said, not even pagan belief, but with unbelief, and it is a wide
Yes.
open field, and there's a yeah. I mean, certainly there are movements, aren't there? The Protestant street preachers. We have the one guy who's actually very uh, obviously very nice and friendly, and but he's a Protestant
What, near you is that somewhere? Or...
on the streets in Darlington. I should have said to
Oh, it's
begin
in
with, on
Darlington.
the High
Yeah.
Road there in Darlington in the northeast of England. He's often
Yes.
there,
Yeah.
preaching the gospel as he understands it. Yeah, and
Yes.
that's
Well, that's it. That's it. And actually,
um,
that's something I did back in the day. So, sort of
yes,
any Protestant can just get up and, preach.
yeah,
Um, so the question is like, what's the Orthodox
hmm
reality, if you like? And what occurred to me was this text. It says the church is the pillar and ground of the truth, which
hmm
is like some sort of reference point. So, I mean,
yeah,
as a Protestant, I was just saying, believe, you need to believe. So it was very
hmm
much um, a sort of mental thing, an abstract thing,
yeah,
whereas the church has this whole life and
yeah,
well, I mean, I would use the Greek word ascesis, exercise. You're
hmm
doing stuff,
yeah,
and this is an expression of, well, repentance and faith,
hmm
I would say. And
right, yeah,
and this is what, so what I see is that there's no, it goes from this just this abstract concept, I believe, therefore I'm saved, something like that.
hmm
It's a syllogism.
yeah,
But there's no real, there is a practical outcome. Okay, you're trying to live a good life.
yeah.
That's you're trying to live according to the Bible.
And
Uh,
you quite naturally move into joining a congregation and making friends with like-minded
yeah,
people, and
but
you know,
what I see is there's no, I mean, just that life, you have life is there's a culture, there's a world that
hmm
people live. How people get up in the morning, they go to work. They come home, they watch the television, um,
yeah,
they maybe go out somewhere, they do go to the gym, they go out at the weekend, they do all these things. And that just can just become all there is, really.
yeah,
And
yeah,
for some people, there may be a religious aspect that they go to church once a week or more often, perhaps, or less often. But for a lot of people, simply there is no, for all intents and purposes, there is no religion. There is just that life I talked about, what I would call the
hmm
natural life of just things, nothing you're doing which is bad, which is evil in and of itself,
hmm
but there's nothing, God is not in it.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
right,
Whereas Orthodoxy presents you with this thing of basically you could fill all your time. I mean, if you
Sorry, Peter.
have,
Now I'm going to have to pause. I've just got a call coming through.
oh, sure. Okay, go ahead.
Um,
Just, yeah, we'll edit it out. I'll
mhm.
stop it. Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, that's it. There's a program. So I mean, if you have like the full monastic cycle, there is,
hmm
hours of service in a day. So if you go to a monastery like on the Holy Mountain,
hmm
there can be 4 or 5 hours or more in the church.
yeah,
And then if you have an active parish, it can, it's quite a lot. It could
hmm
be over the week. I mean, I'm just looking at this parish in Wallasey, because this icon was here, okay, they had a Saturday morning service, they have akathist in the evening in the week and so on.
right,
So it's that, and also, domestic prayer, domestic study of
hmm
the fathers, Bible, whatever. Um, so that's what occurred to me. So what this is the mission field, if you like. That people are not that there's no ascesis, there's no practice of these things.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so the church, but the church actually. makes this happen, if you see what I
Hmm.
mean. I mean, I think a very devout Protestant or Catholic probably, they will do a lot of stuff, maybe.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the church is making it, I mean, I don't want to make it sound too like mechanical, but
Hmm.
it's this reality that we need to actually move us along on the spiritual path.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting what you said that the this is a what was an Anglican church
Yes,
in a cemetery in
that's
that has
right.
been um
That's right.
what's the process there? But I've often sort of fantasized about that process. You see these um in I'm thinking about Darlington again. There are several sort of town centre churches there that are more or less abandoned. I mean, they are. Um, one, I think I mentioned it. One has been converted into a bathroom sales room, and there's
Yes,
another.
exactly. I mean,
Um,
I want the same thing
yeah.
as you driving back from this church, you go past,
Hmm.
I don't know what it was originally, Anglican or some sort of nonconformist, and
Hmm.
that I can't remember what it was, but it certainly wasn't a church anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so that's a common phenomenon, isn't it?
Usually they're locked. You can't get into them. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, quite often with trees growing out of the roof and what have you. Already, the gutters haven't been cleaned for a few years. There's some attempt to maintain them, but the
Yes.
interest has gone. And yeah, I love at least the idea that you know, a young Orthodox priest full of fire would come to somewhere like that, and the people would come
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't
if
it?
the
That's it. I mean, I
services
think,
were
when
being
people
held
see
in
it,
places like
I
that.
mean,
Yeah,
in the congregation on Sunday, I mean, there were lots of British people, people
yeah,
from a different background who were,
hmm,
and you could just see that these were just normal people, normal kids, teenagers, adults, whatever.
yeah,
And they just, they clicked with this. They realized what it was. Um, so yeah, that's all. It's just about making the effort,
hmm,
to get out.
yeah, or
Um,
yeah, or making the effort because you realize the importance. Yeah,
well, that's it. So the church needs to, you know, reach out, and it needs to understand its missionary nature, and
hmm,
um, can go. There's a rich, again, there's that scripture, isn't there? To see the fields are ripe for harvest.
yes,
So
right, right,
that's what it's like. And this is what, as I was going around England on the train and just moving around in the town and so on, it was just like, yeah, this is a field. This is a field ripe for harvest.
hmm, yeah,
Um, and
because
then
people are lost essentially.
Well, that's it. I mean, this is the
They're
thing, isn't it? This is the thing. This is the teaching of the church. This is the law. What is lost? It's like, well, we are God's creatures, and yet most people don't live with any reference to Him.
yeah, yeah.
It's like there's no communication.
No, even to the extent of yes, of going, of having a morning service in the school, or of going to the church on a Sunday and actually being um, made to plan your week because you know that the shops will be shut on the Sunday, for
Yeah,
example, and because that's the day where we actually think about things which aren't necessarily connected to getting and spending
yeah.
and
Well,
so
that's it.
on.
So it's a huge like task and opportunity. And I was thinking, well, how do I fit into all this?
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't think I've really solved that. I felt a certain zeal, but then afterwards I just come back into my, okay, well, I'm busy surviving, you know what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah, hmm,
basically the average person, we just survive and do
hmm,
go to church,
yeah,
but I guess we're all looking for something a bit more. I mean, I think those of us
hmm,
who are serious, you feel, well, that's not enough. It's not
hmm.
enough. Just we need to be at least pushing the limits of what we're doing for God, for the church. Um, so I don't know
Well,
what you think about
that
that.
is the sort of the call, isn't it? Yeah, I suppose that's what the origin of my little fantasy about the Orthodox priest
Yes.
coming to this uh, nasty looking red brick Protestant kind of a a
Yes.
meeting hall
Yeah.
church and actually
Yeah.
turning it into a really living and vibrant and a meaningful center of rebirth
Well,
of
yes. Well, that's it.
the
So
whole idea.
I don't know. It's an ongoing topic, isn't it? How
Mm,
we can what we can do ourselves, in that process.
yes, yeah.
Something we can get back to.
Well, perhaps
Okay.
there is, yeah, perhaps there are things that we can do.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm sure there are.
you're right.
I'm sure
Yeah.
there are. I mean,
Hmm.
I think the other thing that I was thinking about this is the fact that the church is a community. Okay, so the
Hmm.
difference is, when I was a Protestant, I basically went out on. I mean, there was a few people from the church I was with, and they were going to the park, to Speaker's
Hmm.
Corner. But ultimately, it was just, I decided to go, and then when the other guys didn't start, I was still going, just me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can sort of do that if you're a Protestant. But I think the logic within Orthodoxy is that it's got to be it's got to be interfaced with the church.
Yes. Hmm.
That
Not
and I was
everyone can consecrate the bread and wine.
yeah, I mean obviously, the church itself is a missionary body. So if you just set up a church and you just have the liturgy, then that's a missionary thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but the question is where, but you can do things ordinary people can be involved in sort of promoting
Hmm.
it and attracting and even
Yeah.
speaking about it. Maybe there is this thing of I don't know if you know this word kerygma. Have you heard this word kerygma?
No.
It's based on a Greek word and it means like the declaration, the message.
Right. Hmm.
What is the kerygma? And you know it, it's often connected with preaching. Well, it is
Hmm.
basically preaching because it's this Greek word from the New Testament. And so there is a kerygma as well, because also, I mean, this is sort of looking at the other side. You can have the church with the liturgy, but it's not showing much of an impression on people's lives.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
This is a point, and I think that's why, there is a place, for example, in the liturgy for preaching for a sermon,
Yeah.
and there's a wide tradition of, fathers preaching, saying something, giving some sort of message.
Yeah, the homilies,
Um,
the reflections that the Father Josiah does on the internet and so on.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So it's like, and so we should, I guess, those of us who are interested and believe we have some sort of ability for it, should be thinking about what we can do but coming back to the point I was making, but together, you know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
I mean, I have, over many years of studying, thinking, whatever, I've got all sorts of ideas about, and the kind of things often we maybe talk about
Yeah.
on this podcast. Um, but I can't, if I'm just individual as an individual, I'm just say I can talk about any of these things,
Hmm.
and maybe people think I'm crazy about some of them, you know what I mean? But as
Yeah.
a mission, I would be bound to my fellow missionaries and that
Hmm.
anyone, and maybe a bishop or I don't know, somebody in the church, in the clergy,
Yeah.
and it would be like I would be answerable. So I wouldn't be. There would be, in fact, a more limited scope of the kind of thing I would talk about. I couldn't
Hmm.
just go on and on about some sort of more fringe type issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
just thought that it might, that we should be looking for um, this sort of discussion, this collective authority, collective um, operation, if you like. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that is. I mean, I suppose a lot of the message of this general kind of reawakening that I think the world is due for. It
Yeah,
is that the realization that we none of us are an island unto ourselves. That we're not just individuals.
yeah,
That's
that's right. And
the
I think
idea of the
this,
individual is very important, and
yeah,
the whole idea of our own. Inalienable God given rights is very important, I think,
yeah,
the way things work. But we are also a social species, and do our we are at our strongest when we're part of a coordinated group.
yeah.
with that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. And there's so much knowledge now that if you just
Hmm.
act alone, you amass all of this knowledge about all sorts of things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And and you just, but it's just like I think
Hmm.
what we need is focus, on particular,
Yeah.
what's the most important thing?
Yeah.
What are the most, and that's surely the central truths of orthodoxy. That's the most important. You have to come back to that. The other ones are interesting and important and connected,
Hmm.
but when you see that society is just collapsing and people are just without hope and anything, then you should be okay. Well, what's the main thing? What have the fathers been saying from the beginning?
Yeah.
What's the thing that's what's there? Because that needs to be re-expressed because that's, salvation is in that. I mean, obviously in the life of the church, but also it involves this dogmatic message.
Yeah.
Um, and this has been, one of the big concerns in the modern church is that many, let's say quite a few leaders have sort of sided with these sort of ecumenist, with sort of modernist outlooks,
Yeah.
which are really clouding the truth of faith in Christ and the church being his body and so on. Um, so it's like these central truths need to
Hmm.
be emphasized. So,
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm not quite sure that I know what those are really. I mean, what?
well, I mean, I guess it's what's, I mean, I guess we should start with the ecumenical councils,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've
I
got what
suppose.
the
Yeah.
creed. I
Yeah.
mean, start with
The
the
creed. Yeah.
the creed, the
Hmm.
Nicene Constantinople Creed,
Hmm. Yeah.
which
Uh-huh.
that's it. I mean, a classic catechism. And we started looking
Hmm.
at Vatican Nicolai's catechism, didn't
Yes.
we? And
Yeah. Hmm.
that's, you know, based around the creed.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so I don't know, maybe that's something we should continue with. So the other thing we wanted to look at today was, what's in the news, which is NIS, which is the Serbian oil company, and
Mm.
how this has um, been sanctioned. And this is not some direct embargo, but it's the fact that the American financial system has sort of withdrawn its support, and that you can't
Hmm.
actually function. No large organization on an international basis can basically function, which already is like a questionable thing in itself that should be the case, but that's
Yeah.
how it works. That's what's going on these days. With the net effect that the oil refinery in Pančevo, near to Belgrade, has stopped operation. And you can't buy petrol with a Visa card or a MasterCard. You have to find other ways of paying for it. In these,
Hmm.
you can buy in other petrol stations, but not in
Yeah.
the national one.
Has the fuel supply to other kinds of petrol station been affected yet? I hadn't
Well,
noticed. I filled
this
up a
is what
while
I
back
don't
and
really know
yeah.
where the fuel, again, there's some research needs to be done about the fuel. There's still some coming in, shipped in
Hmm.
somehow or other. But sooner or later, as far as I know, they get their fuel from this.
Because as far as I know, yeah, the what you've got OMV is an Austrian company,
Yes.
isn't it? They have lots of stations here, but I think MOL is
MOL is
also
It's the
Russian.
Hungarian one.
As a
Yeah.
Hungarian, is it? Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, right.
Yeah, so those are the chief ones, I think
Yeah,
MOL, OMV, and then
and
there's a lot of small operators and more
yeah, yeah, hmm,
local
yeah.
ones.
There are a number of those still, aren't there? Yeah.
So it's sort of, so imagining that this is a longer term thing, the Pancheville, which is the city near me,
Hmm.
it's got the oil refinery and there's a petrochemical plant which is connected to it.
Yes,
Um, and
but
this
we
is
don't
huge.
know exactly what proportion of the Serbian market is served by that refinery.
Well,
Whether
all of it. I think
yeah.
there's no other refinery. I mean,
No,
apart
mhm.
from directly imported oil, but
Yeah, but
that's the only
the
refinery.
do companies like OMV and MOL buy their
Well,
fuel
okay, that's a good
from
question. Yeah,
the
okay, so we
yeah,
we obviously need to check that
yeah,
out.
yeah,
But
and
basically, it's sort of a big influence on the economy and the community and
mhm.
so on.
Yes, certainly it'll have that impact. I'm just wondering whether
Yeah.
it'll mean that we'll still have access to fuel. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's key. And
Hmm.
sort of my guess is that it won't come to that because you've got real problems, haven't you? But I mean, who
Well,
knows?
yeah.
Who knows? I
Hmm.
mean, what's the
It's happened before, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah, well then,
remember.
I mean, it's certainly going to affect my existence quite a lot
Mhm.
if we don't have fuel, and that would change things a lot.
We used to buy petrol in the two liter bottles. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's you were saying you buy it, they were selling it by the roadside. No, somebody else told me that actually. It
Yeah.
was a student. He said he remembered the day that they were selling it in plastic bottles by the side of the street. Yeah.
hmm And you began to get a feel for how long your car was going to run on 2 liters of fuel.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you yeah,
I was
obviously.
still driving my little Yugo Coral,
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I got very used to the taste of petrol in my because I was continually sort of siphoning it out of one thing and putting
Ah,
it into another, getting the siphon to
yeah.
start. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, by you there would be little places where you'd stop, with a
Yeah,
guy
that's
with
right.
a few cans and bottles and stuff, and
Yeah.
you'd buy the liter from these guys, right? And it functioned. I mean,
Yeah, you
it
still
wasn't. It was possible to get fuel. I'm not quite sure now what
where
the
did they
prices
get
were
it
like
from though?
for the.
That's the question. Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah. I know of people who imported it over the Danube in boats,
Oh,
from Romania.
really,
They
really.
would buy
Yeah.
in Romania
Yeah.
and come. Of course, they were tolerated on the Serbian side, but they were breaking the embargo essentially and importing
Yes.
it small scale like that.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. So what we're in at the moment is this feeling like, things could get pretty rough, couldn't they? I mean, this is the point. It's like recently we
Yeah.
seem to be more to this like, the normality of life is
Mm.
you feel this thinner sort of line between that and what we still have the sort of, we're going driving around doing our business. But
The
if one of these things really
On
came
the
through,
surface,
then
things look normal, but
it
yeah.
would it would be disruptive, wouldn't it? And
Mm.
it'd be a different lifestyle. Um,
I wonder what it's going to be like. I do have I mean, but I always have to preface everything I say with the caution that I've been expecting a massive financial collapse since 2012 at
yes,
least,
yes, yes,
and
yes,
it
yes.
still hasn't materialized.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I can't help feeling now that with the way things are developing in Ukraine, the way that things seem to be hotting up in the Western Hemisphere in weird and wonderful ways with all of a sudden Trump wants to invade Venezuela, or maybe
Yes,
Trump doesn't, but someone does in the American
yeah.
administration. I don't know what's going on, but one gets the feeling that um, things are getting close to
Well,
some kind of a
yeah,
break.
that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole story is sort of chaotic, isn't it? It's like you're
Mm,
thinking, well, there's really no logic in it, I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you think, well, obviously, it's like somebody with a really crazy plot is like
Hmm.
pushing this all along. And and there are enough the system is strong enough, there are enough people at the top to keep it going, whereas anybody
Yeah.
rational would say, well, just a minute, no, if just put me and my mates in charge and we could just like we could run the world in a normal way, why don't we
Hmm.
just exist? I think it's more and more I get this more and more thing, well, any rational person of good intention would say,
Yeah.
okay, let's just get together and we can have a nice everything can be fine, more or less, within the limits of human
Yeah,
nature.
you could more or less pick anyone at random off the street and
Yeah,
put them into positions of
yeah,
power, and they would
yeah.
say,
I
"Well,
mean,
yeah, well, of course we're going to stop killing people here. We're
yeah, that's right.
going to
I mean,
change things here."
it's so obvious now. It's
Uh,
just like some sort of malicious
yeah,
all this crazy stuff that's going on.
mm,
Um, and you just think, and it's like somehow there must be some level in society where you have to sort of join the club of the mad. I don't know if you're someone saying,
yes, yes,
where is that? Where is that? I
yeah,
mean, you know, uh, I think there's a sort of there's a band, isn't there? This and it's this indifference. It's this. I mean, this is what I was
yeah,
experiencing a bit in England. This sort of just life as normal. I'm just doing the stuff, but
hmm
somehow I'm furthering the agenda of the craziness. I don't know. That would be that
yeah,
my
yeah. Or at the
feeling
very
somehow
least,
when I get
just
through this.
tolerating it and expecting. Well, we
But
have
maybe
this sort
we're
of
all yeah,
normalcy
but we're
bias,
all
and
doing
we're
that
sort of
because
running along on that. Yeah.
yeah. But that's it. I mean, it's just like I think for most of us, what can we do? You know?
So yeah, that's what's happening in the news, and but yes, at every level, I get this feeling of yes, just that we're frozen somehow, that there is no, um, the the real any real solution to any given problem
Yes.
will automatically be stymied and blocked and
Well, that's
stopped.
it. Yeah, that's it. It's just like,
Um,
you know, it's fairly clear, isn't it, what the problems of the world are.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
it's and what or any nation, you could look at a nation and say, oh, these are the issues, there's unemployment, bad roads,
Yeah.
health. But if everybody just put all the resources of the world, people said, okay, well, we've got these resources, we could put this together, you could organize something rational. Um, but there seems to be no move in that direction, does there? At the moment, I mean, maybe have there been times when there were moves in that direction? It seemed to be going at certain levels, maybe in a more
Well, I think I mean that's my read on the post-war period, that
yes,
there really was a
yeah,
move with people like John Kennedy in the United States towards a sense where this we can have global development where everyone does live in greater and greater prosperity, peace, and comfort.
yes,
But for whatever reason, that seems not to have been acceptable to many of uh, the entrenched power structures that
yes. Well, that's
the
it. I mean,
world
that's it.
operates under, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it was um, the great advocates of that kind of idealistic movement were all basically killed off one way or another, weren't
yeah,
they? Um, but
yeah.
that leaves us, yes, in a sort of a faithless soup clinging to normalcy with a growing
Well,
sense
that's
that
it. And
things
just
are
the question is
the
what's
wheels are
the
slowly falling off the bus, or
yeah,
we're
that's
gradually
right.
moving to some sort of slow motion car wreck.
So what can we do, as concerned
Mm,
individuals? I mean, the only thing I know about is like we've been talking about already, sort of faith and these issues like that. That's
hmm.
something that can change, isn't it? I mean, if more people come to the faith, more people join the
Well, it
church.
can, yeah. On a practical
I mean,
level,
ultimately,
you're
that's
joining
going
a
to be that's
community.
going to be a benefit, isn't it?
Mm,
That things will get better in some way. We don't know in the invisible way it's getting better, but that isn't it. That's the way forward, maybe.
yeah, yeah. And I've always thought that it's, I mean, the way our relationship to the land the and our food and the way we interact with each other and with the other
Yeah. So this is it.
occupants of this materium.
Yes. Yeah.
um, we've got to realign that
So the
and
question is how
start.
much we should spend time talking about, faith issues and
Hmm.
how much about practical issues like
Yeah,
the land and so. So and in a way, practical issues are theoretical, aren't they? Because if you and I are talking about the land, we're not we're not actually changing the way agriculture is done or anything like that. We're just
no.
talking about.
Well, you're
Um,
doing your bit. I mean, you're
well,
raising
yeah, I've got
chickens
a sort of rather
and
weedy
you're
patch
gardening.
outside the window here, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but
I think that's important. I think that's very
well,
important. I
that's
wish
right
I
to do
could do more
something.
of it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So just yeah, just a little bit
Hmm.
here and there. So okay, well we sort of
Hmm.
got a few topics going today. A bit like after a bit of a break coming back to it, but we'll have to sort of we still got that history one, haven't we? We're the
Yes, well, let's try and go back to that and get yeah
we can
think
be
a
a bit
little
more
bit more about
precise
what
about
happened in
that,
the
and we can
90s. I
develop.
mean,
I think we can come back to
because in
these
some
topics.
ways,
Yeah.
I do feel that the breakup of Yugoslavia is instructive for the current situation in many ways, because I think that um, there are
So what
parallels
lesson,
when
what
you look
message does it have for
at
now? I mean,
Europe.
what would you say are the
Well,
principal message?
Yugoslavia was many people would say an artificial construction
Yes.
of these six different republics with different traditions, different backgrounds, and different ways of thinking. And in some ways, I think it is. similar to the other larger structures that we see around us now, like the European Union
Yes.
is that comes first to mind. That we um, first we had an economic union. There was clearly a push towards making that a political union as well. You know, with first the financial, they took the step of creating the euro and making a financial union, which I think was a crazy thing to do and a huge mistake. But and clearly the push is towards a political union as well,
Yes.
but that is going to fall to pieces. And let's hope it doesn't fall to pieces in quite the same way as it did with Yugoslavia, because
Yeah.
that wasn't pleasant.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Um, but I think there are lessons there. You know, what there are moments when before things start kicking off, you know, before the snipers start picking off the demonstrators in the crowd, where people can step back um, uh, um, from conflict, you know, and start, you know, interacting
Uh-huh.
in a way which will
Okay. So
undermine
do you
the
have
conflict
specific
from the very beginning.
ideas about some junctures which could be highlighted for this to achieve this? I mean, I'm not asking for the
Yeah,
example. I'm not
yes,
asking for
I
them
know.
now. I'm just asking, do you have in your mind some that we could talk about that we could focus on maybe in the future?
Well, I think that there are always these centripetal and centrifugal forces going on, and in many ways, it's a good idea for people to be part of larger structures. But there's always then the belief that we then need to repress and devalue the old traditional loyalties to nation
Yes.
uh, and to people and to language and so on. Um, and that's always um, presented as an either or. You know, either we have um, the uh, the far right kind of a view of um, the English are the best, or the Germans are the best, or the
Yes.
French are the best, and everyone else is to be treated with suspicion and probably hatred, and also that any movement towards um, international cooperation is immediately suspect. That we have to worry about, you know, the Chinese are going to get us, and so we have to build up our own uh, strength. But well, I don't know
So
quite where I'm going
you
with
see
this,
points
but
in the
I think
Yugoslav history
I
where
think it's
things
very
could.
easy for manipulators to come along and stir up these uh, hatreds
Yes. Yes.
and
Indeed.
manipulate people into um, committing to um, well courses of action which they can never come back from, really. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so I worry that might be the fate of Europe.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
yeah, that's it. So, I mean, I think maybe talking about these things, just some contribution, isn't it, to,
mm,
reflection on
possibly. Hmm.
trying to avoid worse outcomes. Mm.
Well, there are lots of parallels between the conflict between Croatia and Serbia and the conflict between Ukraine and Russia
Yes.
that
Yeah.
can be um, again instructive.
Okay. Well, maybe you can gather
Mm.
some of these and
Yeah, maybe
we can
I,
include them
as you
next
see, I
time.
need to think about it a little bit more. Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get some ideas together for the next session. So just to say thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Great.
Cheers.
Okay. Thank you,
Bye.
Peter.